Did the Lakers make a mistake by re-signing Jackson Hayes? Maybe. If you have not heard yet, they actually brought him back for more than a veteran minimum contract, which for him would have been worth roughly $2.8 million. That's the minimum salary for a 6-year NBA pro. And side note, I'm absolutely shocked that he's a 6-year pro at this point. Still only 25 by the way. But following them doing that and actually giving him more than that amount, signing him for his non-bird right raise amount, which then brought it up to $3.45 million. And well, if you have no idea about the problem with that and how that affects their team, it does prohibit them from using the full biannual exception. Following the Lakers signing Jake LaRavia, that dropped their first apron space from $19 million down to roughly $13 million. Then after signing DeAndre Ayton, dropping it from $13 million down to $5.5 million, which was still enough to let them use the full $5.1 million biannual exception, which I thought they would do and many others thought they would do. But instead they brought back Jackson Hayes, which in itself was not a bad thing in my opinion. After all, they did need a backup center and he does have familiarity with their team and with their system, so I don't mind the fact that they brought him back, but I don't like the fact that it really messed up their payroll and their ability to use their biannual exception, because after that point it dropped their first apron space from $5.5 million down to less than $2 million, not even half the biannual exception, and therefore prohibiting them from using that biannual exception. And even if they try to get around that by waiving the non-guaranteed contract of Shake Milton, worth $3 million for next season, because of the pay increase they gave to Jackson Hayes, that wouldn't give him back their full biannual exception. Rather than if they would simply have given him the minimum amount, which again was $2.8 million for next season, they would have then gotten pretty close to that full biannual amount, giving them roughly $4.7 million back of it. But after the pay increase they gave to Hayes, now they only get roughly $3.9 million of that biannual exception if they waive Shake Milton. So again, kind of a miscalculation by them in my opinion. I don't mind the fact they brought back Jackson Hayes, I actually kind of like it for a backup center. You know, he maybe even deserved a slight pay increase, but in regard to their payroll and in regard to trying to use the biannual exception, which I definitely want to use and I think they should definitely want to use here too, it's going to be a lot more difficult for them to get to that point. So with that in mind here, what's the pathway for them to get there and what should they do now to get that full biannual amount back? We'll talk about that and try to break it all down here. And well, to begin, I think it's important to talk about why they should want it back here. Not simply to have it and stare at it and do nothing with it, but then to offer it to a free agent that probably would take that amount to get. Which in my opinion are not really the currently available free agents. I mean, you could definitely make an argument for one or two here. Maybe a guy like Al Horford, but he does seem to be signing with Golden State or Denver. But rather the potentially upcoming buyout market players. Guys like Bradley Beal for example, Marcus Smart, he might get bought out. A guy like Kyle Anderson might get bought out, so talking more about them and the potential buyout market players rather than the currently available free agents. And I for one would definitely have interest in them, whether you're talking about Bradley Beal here, Marcus Smart, Kyle Anderson. I definitely would like to have them and I think they could benefit this Lakers team. Giving them either a big time scoring punch off the bench with Bradley Beal, a better point of attack defender and a very battle hardened player like Marcus Smart, or a versatile big defender like Kyle Anderson with some playmaking ability, I think that would be a pretty good option for their team, and again, it probably would take the full biannual amount to get them, which at this point they currently do not have access to. So with that in mind here, how do they get to that point and what's the best pathway for them to get there? Well, they do have a couple options in front of them, one of which would be, along with waiving Shake Milton, like I said, they have to waive him to even get part of the biannual back. If they would waive him, it would give them roughly $3.9 million of the $5.1 million biannual amount. But if they would then waive the partially guaranteed contract with Jordan Goodwin with him, then they could get the full amount back. No, his salary is not completely non-guaranteed like Shake Milton, but it's actually pretty close. After further investigation, I found out that only $25,000 of his salary is guaranteed here, which obviously is not that much of a $2.3 million salary. And if they would then waive that with Shake Milton, they could get back their full biannual exception. The only problem here is that I actually do like Jordan Goodwin. Yes, he might be up and down offensively, isn't the most reliable option, and isn't the best backup point guard either, but he is one of the better defenders on their current roster. I mean, like I've talked about, they don't have much two-way talent on their team and not much defensive talent for that fact. Apart from Jared Vanderbilt, obviously, then Jordan Goodwin and kind of guys like DeAndre Ayton now, I guess, and maybe Gabe Vincent, they don't have many defensive-minded players on their team. So waiving Jordan Goodwin, even though he's a backup and doesn't play a ton for their team, even though yes, he was in their playoff rotation for a bit and JJ Redick does seem to like him, it would be a pathway for them to get their biannual exception. And if you're talking about replacing him with a Marcus Smart or a Bradley Beal or a Kyle Anderson, then yes, I would go that route. That would be the most simple approach for them to take. It wouldn't require them to make a trade or any kind of complicated salary dump. They could simply waive both Shake Milton and the partially but mostly non-guaranteed contract of Jordan Goodwin. That could be a pathway for them, and once again the most simple pathway for them too. However, if you're like me and you actually like Jordan Goodwin and would like to see him stay with their team, at least temporarily, then you probably don't want to waive him and might instead prefer to go a different route. Which in my opinion I think JJ Redick might prefer here too. After all, Jordan Goodwin did play pretty solid with their team, climbing from a two-way contract last season to a legitimate standard contract, and like I said, even making their playoff rotation for a bit, so I'm not sure they want to waive him for simply nothing, especially without a guarantee from a guy like Marcus Smart or Bradley Beal, the latter of which I think probably will unfortunately sign with the LA Clippers. And I mean, with Jordan Goodwin, he signed with their team and then went on to put up roughly 5.5 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, which is incredibly impressive as a combo guard that's only 6'3", 6'4", and only played 18 minutes per game for them. Very impressive. Defensively took on some tough matchups, definitely was a defensive pest to their team, and did that to the tune of 1 steal per game in only 18 minutes per game, coming out to nearly 2 of them per 36 minutes, and even shot well from the 3-point line during the regular season, shooting 38.2% while taking over 2 of them per game, even better on corner threes, and shot a very impressive 42% from the corner. So again, wouldn't prefer to waive him if they don't have to, and if they don't get a guarantee, some kind of verbal guarantee from an upcoming buyout market player. And with that in mind here, option number 2 would then be a salary dump via trade, and that would definitely be a bit more complicated, with the likely target and the likely player to be salary dumped being either one of Gabe Vincent or Maxi Kleber. I mean, we have to salary dump an expiring contract here, and I'm not going to do that with Rui Hachimura. Apart from that, I don't think we can really salary dump Jared Vanderbilt. That would be incredibly difficult due to him not being very healthy. It would probably take more assets to get rid of him than would really be worth it. And not to mention, I actually like Vanderbilt too. So picking between Gabe Vincent or Maxi Kleber, I probably would go Gabe Vincent here, simply from looking at the buyout market and the likely buyout market candidates. A majority of them do happen to be backcourt players rather than frontcourt players. Again, if we're hoping to get a guy like Bradley Beal or Marcus Smart, then the likely player to replace him with would be Gabe Vincent. So maybe finding a rebuilding team with cap space, pointing to a team like Washington, Charlotte, Brooklyn, maybe calling one of them up and trying to salary dump Vincent to their team, simply attaching a protected second-round draft pick and the draft rights to a player that never came to their team, that might be enough to salary dump him and therefore open up space in their roster and obviously more cap room to then use their biannual exception. But from the other side of that, I definitely get the argument against it. I mean, do they really want to attach an asset, even though it's simply a protected second-round draft pick, maybe slightly more attached with it, to offload either one of Gabe Vincent or Maxi Kleber, just for the chance of signing somebody on the open market or an upcoming buyout market player? Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but I definitely do get the argument against it. If you don't like Gabe Vincent or Maxi Kleber, then I'm sure you'd be all for it, especially with some kind of guarantee from a buyout market player, but there definitely is a ton of risk here too. Simply trading them and salary dumping them just for a chance of signing a buyout market player or somebody on the currently available free agent market that might only be a minor upgrade from them. Would it be worth it? Wouldn't it be worth it? That's up for debate here, and that's ultimately what it comes down to here too. Now there is kind of a third option here, but it's definitely indirect, not really directly going after the biannual exception, but it could potentially be a product of it. So I'm not going to kind of count it for a third option, but it is something left that could be a way to get there too. That would be the way of simply making a trade that they're actually trying to make, whether it be for Andrew Wiggins or some other wing player, trading for them and actually taking back less money than they send out. That could be a way to get further beneath that first apron, giving them enough room to get their biannual exception back and their full biannual amount. That could be another way, but again, it is kind of indirect, so I'm not going to fully count it. And while kind of comparing and pinning the two options against each other here, we can either number 1, waive both Shake Milton and Jordan Goodwin to get far enough under the first apron to get back our full biannual exception here. Or then number 2, we can salary dump either Maxi Kleber or Gabe Vincent to a rebuilding team with some kind of asset attached with him, and then get far enough below that second or rather first apron to use our full biannual exception. So with that being said here, what do you guys think, and what option would you go with? Or would you maybe not do either of them? Would you waive Shake Milton, Jordan Goodwin? Yes, it would have to be both of them unfortunately. Or would you salary dump either one of Vincent or Kleber, along with probably a protected second round draft pick? Which route would you go with if you go with any of them, and why would you go that route? Would it be for a currently available free agent? Would it be for a potential buyout market player? Or would it be for later in the season after the post-trade deadline buyout market? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this one. And if you enjoyed the video, then I would greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day or night.